And one. One. Peace.
I want to thank every one of you, especially my colleagues that I have served with for the last 3 years, for being here. We are here today because 19 years ago, a series of horrific acts changed everything for us, for all of us, as individuals, as nations, and as an alliance. On September 11, 2001, everything changed. We walked past this steel beam so often entering headquarters, and each time it reminds us why we work here. Because there are still adversaries in the world who would stop at nothing to attack our way of life and our values. The values for which we stand. We come to this building every day to assure those adversaries do not succeed. Today and always, we remember those who lost their lives in September 11 terrorist attacks in the U.S., and those who have died in terrorist attacks across our alliance, and those who have died fighting the terrorists to prevent their evil from spreading. We continue to solemnly remember them. These attacks have sharpened our focus as an alliance. We are united in our commitment to defending freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law with allies and partners. We moved out together to face terrorist groups where they operate. We fight them there, so we will not have to fight them in our homelands. On September 12, 2001, the NATO alliance invoked Article 5, our most sacred promise. We are here in solidarity today as you were with us then. Over the past few months, the COVID-19 pandemic introduced a new enemy. None of our countries have been spared. Every ally has been touched. And once again, as after 9/11, we have so many inspiring stories of allies helping allies. Our militaries have played an important role supporting the civilian response to COVID-19 through airlifts of essential medical supplies, transportation of patients, and the construction of field hospitals. Now NATO is stepping forward again, planning to be ready if there is a resurgence of this virus, or if there is a new pandemic of a different kind. That is what NATO does. We rush to each other's aid, and we face the future together. Since 2001, the world is becoming more and more complex at a rate not seen by previous generations. Adversaries are stronger. Threats are less visible, but increasingly dangerous. And we have adapted to protect our security, but our adversaries have also found new ways to disrupt. There will never be a shortage of challengers working to divide us and weaken us. NATO remains necessary. We guarantee freedom for one another, and we stand together to adapt to new tests as they arise. We have always, and we will always, stand in solidarity against all adversaries. We are strong, we are united, we are NATO. And now I want to introduce our great Secretary General, who has led us for so many years to be able to celebrate our victories and work with us to continue the fight as long as it is necessary. Jens Stoltenberg.
Thank you, Ambassador Hutchinson. and thank you for your strong personal commitment to our transatlantic alliance. Today we gather in front of this twisted piece of the Twin Towers, the 9/11 and Article 5 memorial here outside the NATO headquarters in Brussels. We do so to pay tribute to the nearly 3,000 men and women who lost their lives in those horrendous terrorist attacks. We remember the suffering and the loss, the bravery of those who put their life on the line to save others, and the solidarity that emerged from the wreckage. Just hours after the attack, we invoked for the first time NATO's collective defense clause, Article 5 of our founding treaty. The attacks were on US soil, but we were all hit. We stood with our American ally, and we responded together to terrorism. We went into Afghanistan to ensure the country never again serves as a platform for terrorists to attack us, as they did 9/11. Today, we pay tribute to our troops, to the Afghan security forces and the people of Afghanistan, who have carried the burden of war for far too long. Their sacrifices have not been in vain. We are now closer than ever to peace. Peace negotiations will start tomorrow. This is no guarantee for lasting peace, but it is an historic opportunity we must all seize. Through Afghan-led and Afghan-owned peace talks, Afghans can shape their own future. These talks must preserve the gains made in the last 2 decades for women and children, for justice and freedom, and for the safety and security of all. As part of the peace process, we are now adjusting NATO's military presence on the ground. At the same time, we will continue our training mission, and we will remain committed to help safeguard the Afghan people, because Afghanistan must never again be a safe haven for terrorism. We are also fighting terrorism together in Iraq. With the US-led global coalition, we have made enormous progress against ISIS. It has lost the territory and the people it once held captive, but it remains a threat. So NATO is stepping up our training mission to help Iraqis build stronger security forces and ensure that ISIS never comes back. Terrorism comes in many forms and manifestations, misusing different religions and ideologies, but all have in common a belief in violence, hatred, and a disrespect of human lives. We have seen this from Paris to Oslo and from London to Istanbul. Countering terrorism demands our collective commitment and our collective effort. The effort of our societies as a whole. And Europe and North America need each other as much as ever in the fight for our values and our security. As we gather at this solemn moment, we are committed to stay strong and united to keep our people safe. Thank you.
In a moment, I'm going to ask for silence at 8:46 Eastern Standard Time in New York City, which 19 years ago was when I looked out of my office and saw on my television the airplanes that were flying at the World Trade Center. That was a day that no American will ever forget what they were doing at that moment. And I will never come to 8:46 Eastern Standard Time that I don't remember gathering my staff together in the United States Senate and saying, we may be next, and here's what we're going to do. You can get in your car now and go home. If you can't do that, you can walk with me 1 block to my townhouse and stay until you can contact your loved ones. And that was the beginning of our day on 9/11 of 2001. I want to thank all of you for being here, our Deputy Secretary General, my great colleagues that I appreciate so much, our firefighters represented here that did so much that day to curb the damage as much as they could, and they lost lives too. And then our wonderful military, represented by our chairman, Air Marshal Peach, and all of you in uniform today, and Vice Chairman Kingsbotter. We are almost to the moment where I'm going to ask for a moment of silence and then end this program. I so appreciate all of your being here within the parameters of the NATO confines of only 60 being allowed here because we are fighting COVID even as we speak. And that will be the end of our program. And we are very close to that moment when we can remember that very important time. You know, just to fill this tiny gap, later that day, our Senate had a system in which each of us in leadership contacted a few of the others to find out where people were. And we were told that our Senate leaders and our House Speaker would go to the Capitol around 7 that evening of 9/11 to say that the Congress of the United States would meet tomorrow to show that we were going to defy such an act. And they said, we don't want anyone else there but our leaders. And when all of us came together, there were probably 300 members of Congress and the Senate who came to share that moment to say, we are together and we're going to have business as usual tomorrow. And then one person started singing God Bless America, and of course everyone joined. It was a moment I'll never forget. And I get the signal right now that it is 8:46 Eastern Standard Time, and I would ask for all of us to think about what we're doing here today because of that time 19 years ago. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Secretary General, for doing so much to protect all of us.
Thank you.
And we are adjourned.